125 years, the Loist Group has grown through generations. The roots of the family are a living testament to the dreams, ambitions, and achievements of its members. They drive us to grow and to build the future on sound foundations. When Hippolyte Dumont took over as head of the Opsin communal quarry in 1889, little did he know that his decision would give rise to a dynasty of industrialists who, from generation to generation, would nurture and develop this entrepreneurial spirit. Hippolyte Dumont was a very young industrialist at the time, though he already owned several brickworks in the Liège region. He was a capable man with a sense of organization and a spirit of conquest. A few years later, as he was building new kilns at Opsin, he astutely bought the deposit and installations of the Hermal-sur-Huy lime production site, which were being auctioned off. This site would gradually grow into one of the most important lime factories in Europe. Hippolyte Dumont leaves the impression of a tireless worker, not only at the helm of his factories, but also of the town where he was always highly involved as alderman and mayor. He was a man of the people and well aware of the tough conditions for workers extracting rocks using hammers and crowbars. He introduced the first mechanical shovel on the continent before the First World War, significantly improving the working conditions and productivity of his operations. His son-in-law, Léon Loist, inherited his passion for industrial development. He quickly added his vision to their industrial activities. At the end of the First World War, Europe was back on the road to development, and Léon Loist smartly anticipated the increased needs of the steel industry in Luxembourg and Lorraine. In 1924, he built a new lime factory in Jemelle, in southern Belgium, ideally placed along the route of the Brussels-Luxembourg Railway. 2 years later, he founded the Dougny Lime Quarry and Kiln Company in eastern France. Unbeknownst to him, this would just be the first stage of international expansion, which would go on to become the Loist Group. To survey, analyze, understand, anticipate, and courageously invest using human and financial resources. This was the ground into which the roots of the Loist Group took hold, held firm by strong values and the solidarity of a family united by one vision, to become pioneers. Léon Loist was overflowing with projects, and in 1937 he set up the Dolomies de Marche-les-Dames company along the railway and the Meuse, near Andenne. So he made a start on one of the purest and largest dolomite deposits in Europe, over which the group finally gained control through successive acquisitions spanning more than 50 years. The development of the Dolomies de Marche-les-Dames was accomplished under the leadership of his son-in-law, Jean Berckmans. From the end of the Second World War, Europe needed to rebuild, and the Marshall Plan would play a major part in that endeavor. During this period, Europe was struck by the significant technological advances made by the Americans. So Léon Loist, his son Raymond, and his team of directors sailed across the Atlantic on board the Queen Elizabeth in order to find out about the quarrying and lime production techniques used in the United States. No one can claim to know everything. Léon Loist had a heightened sense of curiosity, as well as the humility, despite his own success, to search for the best of what his peers were doing. In need of new ideas, needing to be innovative, to understand and to apply, in order to progress further. In particular, he would return from this journey with the idea of equipping the Jemelle factory with a lime hydration unit, especially for the construction sector. Construction was an industry he knew very well, as he had in fact simultaneously been active in public works and highway maintenance. He also strengthened the Jemelle factory's supply of primary resources, acquiring in 1956 an exceptionally high-quality deposit, La Boverie, in the Rochefort area. Even today, this same quarry supplies all the limestone for the production of lime in the group's Belgian factories. The post-war economic recovery had been relatively slow, and it was only around 1960 that the industrial boom truly arrived. At this time, there was a need for sufficient production capacity. This was a period of adaptation and renovation for Luast factories, not just in order to respond to new demands from the steel market, but also in order to adapt to the specifications of their principal clients, who were requesting more reactive lime. Léon Luast died in 1971 at the age of 77, but not before he had assembled his entire family at Les Buissonnets, the family home near to Rochefort. After his death, the third generation had been very active. Raymond Luast and his sister Elisabeth Berckmans consolidated the group as a whole by buying the shares of all their cousins in the Dumont-Wattier company following the first oil crisis. Soon, the fourth generation, Jean-Pierre Berckmans, Léon Albert Luast and Vincent Berckmans, would take over the mantle and enter into business. Each generation brought with it its own dream, its own vision, and new ambition. Under the leadership of Jean-Pierre Berckmans, they would significantly expand the group's horizons. Next came the Great Leap. Over the second half of the 70s, the situation in Europe deteriorated. Raymond Luast and Elisabeth Berckmans actively supported the fourth generation with their expansion and development plans. The Luast Group crossed the Atlantic once again, but this time to invest over there. In 1981, it took an initial minority stake in Chemical Lime, founded by Tom Chambers, then acquired Genstar's lime division in 1986 and Allied Lime in 1989. Over 10 years, Luast had become the largest lime producer of the period in the United States. In the same year, on November 9th, the Berlin Wall came down and the world changed, especially in Europe. New markets opened up. Countries in the East discovered the free world, and renewed growth took hold in this part of the world. Investing where there is growth. That's the Luast Group's vision. In 1992, Luast became the first foreign investor in Czechoslovakia's mineral industry when it acquired VCS. The borders of Europe were being redrawn, and the group succeeded in a remarkable ambition. Thanks to its investments in Belgium, in eastern France, in Czechoslovakia, and in Poland. It had a unique strategic position surrounding Germany, the largest lime market in Europe. This position would enable it to gradually establish itself in Germany and eventually become, after 15 years of hard work and determination, its largest producer of lime and dolomite. At the same time, Luast established itself in the Netherlands, Denmark, England, southern France, Spain, and Portugal. On the other side of the Atlantic, the group built its largest lime factory in the United States, at St. Genevieve, on the banks of the Mississippi. It thus gained the strategic commercial position which would determine its growth. These were wonderful decades, at the end of which the group's turnover had truly taken off. The vision of successive generations became a reality. Luast consolidated its position as the global leader in the production of lime and dolomite. Thanks to the pursuit of excellence that its teams had developed, and to the profound changes in its organization and in the human resources for the sake of innovation, research, and development, the group was getting ready to meet the challenges of the new millennium. Thus, in the new Limelet headquarters built a few years earlier, the management became truly international, with dozens of different nationalities intermingling, various cultures enriching one another, their perspectives broadened in order to shape the world of tomorrow. With the construction of Limelet, Luast initiated an important collection of photographic works and sculptures to nurture this open-minded, creative, and culturally sensitive workforce. The Luast collection is shared throughout the group. It is seen as a vector of integration, encouraging its people to challenge the world in which they operate, see innovation and creativity as powerful allies, and embrace change as a necessary partner of progress. In synergy with this commitment to innovation, a new center of research and development was built in Nivelles, south of Brussels, recruiting dozens of researchers and technicians from highly diverse backgrounds and sharing the best work of related sectors and client markets. Loast innovated in production techniques, developed new products, cooperating with its main clients in order to improve their processes. But all these resources were not enough to guarantee the results obtained. The implementation of the Loast Group's industrial and commercial strategy also relies on one essential value for a family business in industry: long-term vision. In this case, long-term vision relies on quality and sizable deposits and the commitment to make it happen. Loast built its future over the long term through very high ambition, allied to clear-sighted prudence. Loast also diversified its work. Under the impetus of Vincent Berckmans, the group also invested in the dolomitic and magnesian refractory brick-making industry and decided to sell it in 2006. The group would take 9 years to successfully make its first significant incursion in Brazil, building in the process its strategic base for the whole of South America. Since that time, Loast do Brasil has doubled its production capacity. The group also diversified in minerals with the 2006 acquisition of Franklin Industrial Minerals in the United States. Loast pursued its expansion through Asia, South America, and Russia. For Loast's teams, the new territories were and still are Malaysia, the Urals, Colombia, and Chile. Sadly, in 2011, Léon Albert Loast suddenly passed away, leaving the memory of a thoughtful personality who attached real importance to the human aspect of the group's management. Indeed, the men and women who made up the Loast Group from its beginnings formed its spine, often with discretion, which is also one of the group's values. And how can we forget the courage of the thousands of workers on the front line in such a tough and demanding profession? It's also thanks to them that today, 125 years after its inception, the Loast Group incorporates 40 nationalities, 26 countries, 6,000 employees, 90 factories, over 100 quarries, 650 patents registered throughout the world, and over 100 registered inventions. The Loast Group still has the same values: respect, courage, and integrity. Each individual shares the same spirit of enterprise and conquest as pioneers and proud industrialists, listening to their clients and working alongside them to find improvements to their products and techniques, and hence contributing to the success of the company. Since its creation, the Loast Group has pursued the aim of creating added value, benefiting all of its stakeholders: shareholders, employees, workers, clients, and local communities in the wider sense. The group's contribution to society centers on protecting the environment, safety, and promoting education. Since its business is all about valorizing a natural resource taken from the ground, Loast firmly believes that it must give back more than it receives. They not only restore the natural site, but actually strive to enhance it. As for the environment, people are essential assets to the group. The safety of all stakeholders is paramount. The group encourages the commitment of everyone to act as stewards of safety. Loast also actively supports educational projects internally and externally, spanning initiatives for young children, executive management programs, and an in-house university. This is a company in the wider sense, in which the Loast Group understands that businesses play an active role in society, with an awareness of their responsibilities. A 125 years on from its inception, Loast has preserved its roots, those of a united family, strengthened by the support of its fourth and fifth generations and by the dedication of all of its associates. Working towards a common goal and having the same ambition. As such, today, Loast has its roots pointing definitively up to the sky.